Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Sweet & Maxwell, part of Thomson Reuters. And this is the CIPA Guide to the Patents Act. That's the Chartered Institute of Patent Attorneys. It's now in an 8th edition, and the general editors are Paul Cole and Richard Davis. And a foreword has been written by Lord Justice Floyd, which I think is of great help. Now, Elizabeth and I have produced a review of this book, and we've given it the title for our review, A Long Established and Stalwart Reference for Patent Attorneys, now in a new 8th edition. And that's what you're getting. It's a big book, this one, and it's actually a very detailed book. There it is, there's the front, and there's the side of it. Now, the back of it, it runs to a large number of pages, 1,600 pages in total. There's the actual index. You can see very detailed index, very much the house style of Sweet & Maxwell, and you can see again how it works there with a very, very substantial amount of detail in the index itself. And there's the start of the index there. Now, if we go into the book itself, you can see the structure. There is actually an indication of the various parts of it with the numbering there, and then what you've got in the main body of it is the paragraph numbering at the sides to find things. The index itself is actually based on paragraph numbering rather than page numbering, which makes it actually easier to find things. This is the front cover, and there again you see the Chartered Institute of Patent Attorneys is to the forefront there, founded in 1882 with the Royal Charter in 1891. This is the editor, details about the editor and the two editors, and the people involved. A lot of people who've been involved in producing this book. The first edition came out in 1980. Then there's an important foreword which is set out there. It's known as the Black Book. So as I say, the Black Book now in a new 8th edition. And this is the preface that goes with it. Then you've got a publisher's note, just setting out where we are with the book at the moment. And then you've got the contents section. You've got the various pieces of legislation, because we're looking at the Patents Acts, the 1977 Act of Rules, and so forth. And then you've got the Copyright Patents and Designs Act 1988, and then a large number of appendices. Then, of course, you've got a lot of cases, very useful. The cases go on for some considerable time, and then after that you get overseas decisions as well. In addition to that, you've then got tables of cases, so a huge amount of tables right at the beginning, statutes after the tables of cases, and then statutory instruments following that. You see the book. And then you've got the international element, which is, as I've indicated, now coming in some detail. And then after that, these are the international conventions and so forth. And then you get into the commentaries on the legislation itself. And it is about the commentaries. This book is about commentaries. The guide is a commentary on the acts. And it's extremely helpful and informative throughout. So what do we say about the book? Well, we say this. Cipa is the Chartered Institute of Patent Attorneys, and this is the book that has been described in Sir Christopher Floyd's foreword as the stalwart of the profession. He calls it the Black Book. It has been so since the first edition was produced in 1980, and continues to be so with this new 8th edition recently published by Sweet & Maxwell and Thomson Reuters. Actually, the provenance of this long-established work of reference goes back even further. According to its co-editor, Paul Cole, its precursors can be traced back to 1950, with the publication of the Patents Act 1949 by the then Chartered Institute of Patent Agents. And this second edition of which came out in 1968, was published with the stated aim of providing a manual for reference, if not daily at least, whenever any doubt arises on the provisions of the Act or rules, and above all on the practice under them. The aim and format of what has become known, as I say, as the Black Book, adds Paul Cole, have continued unchanged to the present day. And of course, we mustn't underestimate patents, however you pronounce them. We mustn't underestimate how important they are, because they really are a very important part of what we do. And as ever, the aim of this publication has been to record and comment upon the multiplicity of changes that have taken place pertaining to patent legislation over relatively recent decades, including European and international developments. But wait, you might argue, patents and the legislation pertaining to patents go back a lot longer than, say, the 20th century, and so they do, with Section 6 of the Statute of Monopolies, 1623, which linked patent eligibility to the working or making of any manner of new manufacture within the realm. So it goes back a long way. Returning to the present, it seems appropriate to quote the editor that the law of patents in the UK is no longer contained in any single act, and keeping up to date with all the various changes remains a challenge. Fortunately, we live in the age of the internet, and more than several useful sites are mentioned in this volume. Also handy for readers who wish, of course, to remain up to date is that anyone who purchases this book direct from Sweet and Maxwell will have the option, if they so choose, having their names recorded so they can receive information about updating supplements issued approximately annually. That's mentioned at the front of the book, and is something quite a lot of publishers are now doing, which is helpful because it keeps us up to date with what's happening. And of course there are a number of publications which are directly linked to websites so that you can get the immediate updates of the information. It's very much of a mixture now of IT and the computer systems with, of course, the paper publications. Of course, another notable feature of the book includes the many references to decisions not or not yet published in the law reports. That's on patent and IP cases, but they're available probably elsewhere, such as the British Library, the Times and so forth, but they may not have yet percolated through. And while noting that this highly regarded and authoritative work of reference is an indispensable purchase for patent attorneys, lawyers in other specialisms, we think, will also appreciate its value, particularly in what Floyd refers to as the new legal landscape, in which profound changes in European patent law are taking place. It's worth pointing out, I think, that here the book presents the insights and commentaries of almost 24 expert contributors, again mentioned at the front of the book, including barristers and solicitors as well as patent attorneys. That said, the book, which is actually a substantial work, 1,600 pages, is designed for ease of use with numbered paragraphs throughout, which I found very helpful, plus the 6 appendices and a massive index at the back. Now the index is very big, and that it's very much the house style, but you should be able to find what you want very, very quickly. Also, I think it's important to note the research resources, which include tables of cases, again very substantial, statutes, SIs and court rules, as well as the European Patent Office decisions, the EPOs. There's a table of international conventions as well, the treaties and related rules and regulations. You're going to get more of that in the next few years, as many publications now have the European angle. And of course you've got the European Patent Office guidelines as well, which assist. Because as I've indicated on many occasions with these reviews, we are in a global community, and you know the law doesn't basically stop at Dover. It covers very much of our relationships with people across the whole of the planet. Let me conclude by saying that, protected for the most part by patent law in all its intricacies, inventions and inventiveness have collectively become a prime driving force of economic progress over the centuries. It's therefore not unfair to say that this definitive work should be considered an essential purchase for all practitioner libraries, and the editors have stated the law as at January 2016, and I'm recording this a little later in the year. This is the book again. There we go. It's a heavy book, nice and dark black, uniform black throughout. There we go, there's nothing on the back. Just opening it in the middle. Commentary on section 74. Again, this is one of the acts they're looking at. You see what you've got is you've got the section and then you've got a nice commentary detailing it. Now you will know that Halsbury and other publications do commentaries, but this is a very specialised area. You've got commentaries on section 89A. So if you've got a particular problem with a particular client, you know that this is the book, and specific legislation, this is the book to come to, because you're going to get more detail here than you are anywhere else. Just showing you the cases again, a very large number of cases involved, very detailed indeed. Then right at the back, the index, again a very detailed index. And let me just remind you of the front. Those are the people who've been involved, a very large number of people involved in producing this. And in addition to that, you've got the little note here about registering if you want to get updates. Thank you very much to the general editors Paul Cole and Richard Davis. I think this is a first-class book, and it's one that anyone who's involved in this area of IP must have. Thank you to Sweet and Maxwell, and thank you to everyone involved. Bye-bye.